So, how are you living Malt?
I'm surviving and impressed by it daily.
Yeah, Cape Town's a bit of a rough one, like in terms of finances and everything, but I assume for you, like the work is here.
Well, it wasn't the plan. I've been in Cape Town at the end of this year. It'll be 10 years. But there was no plan from my side to move to Cape Town at all until it happened. So the long and short of it, yes, Cape Town is a nice place for work. I didn't think it was going to be. I'm still pleasantly surprised now and then, but having been part of it for a while, yes, it is tough. Nothing is consistent, but I mean, in the entertainment industry, nothing is ever consistent. So I'm just glad I'm not 50 yet, and I'm still doing what I wanted to do. So I guess that's the bonus and the perk that overrides the struggle and the insecurity.
I mean, that's the thing. You're someone who has had like a full, long career. You've been on like every Afrikaans TV show that exists.
Yeah.
3 times, I think, for Seven Lawn as different characters.
That's my favorite story. Yeah, 3 different people on Seven Lawn. And their reaction was just, I don't think the viewers won't notice. Nice way of telling me my previous appearance was really forgettable.
But that's funny. You have a pretty distinct look, especially at that time with the long hair and everything.
No, but I mean, that's the one thing I'm glad about lately. I'm getting to act more and play more varied roles. So I understand when I had the long hair, I looked a certain way, but I think it also worked for then. I did more stage work and comedy work, so it was a persona. But to come back to what you said, yes, 20 years is a long time. And I mean, it's more than I did my first professional work in December of 2001. So it's almost 25 years. I've been doing comedy next year. It'll be 20 years of stand-up. So... And I'm at the point now where I can't really do anything else. So I need to stick this out.
That's the problem. Like, I'm facing that same thing where it's like, I've done all these things in the entertainment industry for like the last 20 years, basically, like whether it's organizing events or writing about things or, you know, being a journalist. And it's like, now looking at like my options going forward, it's like, shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different conversation, but also with creative work being... unfortunately, the first in the sights, not in the sights of AI. I don't think AI per se gives a shit about us, but it's the easiest thing to seemingly replace with AI. I mean, the product is bad. I also do a lot of stuff like copywriting, proofreading, subtitling and stuff. So you see the product coming out of AI generated. It's helpful, but it's not necessarily good. So as you said, if you've spent all this time doing different things, at least you've got scope. You can put your hand up for a lot of things that need to be done.
So you're doing the same thing, basically, you just said. Like,
I
you
think
do
all of us
these
are.
things.
I mean, there are guys who I'm very proud of and slightly jealous of who are able to do stand up the whole time. Maybe a podcast and a little vlog here.
Skulk,
Alfred Adrian.
Oh yes.
I mean, but that's also diving into it. I was with Alfred the weekend he bought his camera. He's going to start this YouTube thing now. This must have been about 2018 when he was and he hadn't done anything, and I was like, yo man, you need knowledge of video editing, and I love telling him I was so wrong about it,
because he literally just puts the camera in front of him, he talks,
and he does it well. There's nothing pretentious about it. It just, I'm like I say, I'm always glad to say I was wrong, especially about something that turned out to be very successful.
Yeah, I mean, he's traveled the world, basically.
Yeah. And he's still doing it. I mean, I'm still doing stand-up. It's still one of the things I do, but I need to do other stuff as well. It's just a case of survival.
Well, that's actually what I wanted to talk to you about, is like your journey with stand-up comedy, because it seems at this point, you like aren't exactly like focused on it necessarily. Like, it doesn't seem like it's the thing that you're actively trying to do all the time, but you know, will still do gigs and you still like are in the vibe, but like you're not like in the scene, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and I guess that's a bit of, I should actually reconsider and reassess at some point. But yes, stand-up has reached the point of being one of the things I also do.
Yeah.
And I tend to do that because when I stepped out of varsity, I started working for a production company where I went from researcher and somebody taught me how to edit offline. And after 2-3 years, I was an insert director, and I was running around and producing inserts. I got to meet amazing people. I did presenting for an art show for the same company on the side. But I was a full-blown insert director. You know, your lifestyle insert, 6-7 minute things you would see on Top Billing. In that case, it was Quella or whatever. But I mean, I was a pretty decent insert director. And then I got a job in a sitcom, not a bad, interesting sitcom. It was called Gabriel. It was totally whack for SABC2. But it was the first time after 4 years. I mean, I studied drama, and then after 4 years of working in production, I got the chance to act again. And I quit my job and went freelance. And that was 20 years ago in April of this year, on the same day that both Hunter S. Thompson and Daleen Matthee passed away.
I don't know who that
She's
is.
the writer of Circles in a Forest. It's like a prescribed work for Afrikaans kids, Villa se kind, all of that. But anyway, she's a brilliant Afrikaans writer. Hunter S. Thompson, brilliant English writer. But I just quit it and went freelance. And I've regretted it because I had a good job and a salary, and I went freelance. But I'm still... No, I'm regretting what I'm missing out on. I'm not regretting not doing that. I'm not regretting what I did. And in 2006, the year after that, I accidentally stumbled into stand-up. And then I worked hard at that for a proper 5-6 years, club gigging and stuff. But since I've been in Cape Town, it's a different club scene.
Yeah.
And it's not exclusive. Nobody's keeping me out of it. I just struggle becoming a part of it again because I think I'm kind of the old oom now. I've been doing this for 20 years. So open mic night, I still go to if I want to try out some new stuff. But I don't think you can give an open mic night to an audience as a whole comedy show.
No,
and I always say that I feel in Cape Town you can see decent comedy almost any night of the week, but your proper comedy nights, since the Cape Town Comedy Club disappeared after COVID, I think it's nice to see eventually now some venues, some gigs are reaching that status again of being proper epic comedy nights. You know it's going to be a good time because there's a proper headliner, a proper MC, some open spots as well, but it's going to be a proper comedy show.
Yeah, no, like I agree with you there. I think there's been a good build of those kind of things at the moment. And like, you're completely correct on that. Like most gigs during the week are all open mic gigs. But I think the standard here in Cape Town is actually very high. Like I've found like the open mic gigs are kind of better than, gigs that are curated in other cities. Like,
I'm not going to argue with you there. I miss seeing gigs in other cities. That's what I do miss about being a gigging comedian. I mean, I think I met you in Durban.
I think so too. It was either Durban or Joburg, but I think it was
Durban. I'm slightly autistic in that sense. I think it was on the 17th of December in 2009.
That's crazy. How do you...
Because I associate stuff. I know where I was at the end of 2009, and it was over the 16th of December weekend. I flew down to go and help with an open mic competition, and I think that's the one Robbie Collins or Dusty Rich won.
Wait, so that was it? Okay, crazy. Because that's the thing. Like, I couldn't remember how I met you. I just know, like, we met, and like, I really dug your vibe, and then like, I've just followed you online for years, and like, I feel like you have good opinions on things, and like,
I am opinionated. It might not always be good. Yeah, but I think I met you 2009. Then at Splashy in 2014, and then we shared a camp in Opikopi in 2015 to 16 around. Yeah. But I mean, I miss seeing. That was fun going to see what's happening in Durban. I miss Gauteng so much, in the sense that you could gig in the East Rand tonight, West Rand tomorrow, Pretoria the day after that, Alberton the day after that. You could, traveling.
This is you specifically, because it's a very Afrikaans place.
No, actually, remember, when it comes to comedy, I work in English 90% of the night.
That's true, actually.
And also, I fucked up my English accent so much, because when I started doing comedy, I leaned into the Dutchman so much that I literally bastardized my own accent. I never rolled my ass the way I do now. But it worked on stage. It worked for that persona.
Because that was a lot of what your early comedy was about. It was recontextualizing Afrikaans life for the English people, right?
Yes, because it's ridiculous. I mean, I spent 18 years growing up in a very conservative town.
Ventersdorp, right?
In Ventersdorp. I was going to be fucked if I wasn't going to use that, at least get some mileage out of it. Because it's true. I mean, obviously not verbatim true everything, but I think, as with any other culture in this country, there are so many weird things within the cultures that other people don't know, or that they see, but you don't know what they're rooted in. We don't understand where people are coming from.
You don't know the context.
Yeah, and I also like being just a kind of a poster boy for, there's very cliched Afrikaans saying, ons is nie almal so nie. We're not all like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying that is bad. It was just nice people were surprised to see a big Dutchman being critical of Afrikanerdom, and actually, because that's one thing that white Afrikaners still don't do. They don't own any responsibility or involvement in the past. Let's just move on. We're going to be stuck on the fucking Boer War for ages, but let's just move on from stuff that happened 20 years ago. So I enjoy that. I enjoy being a surprisingly fresh breeze or a new point of view that people haven't seen before. But coming back to Joburg, and you could gig, you could club gig, you could be a gigging comedian and survive.
Yeah.
I mean, not only do that, but I mean, that was enough your cash flow for the week was fine because you got your handshake at the door with your little $500 in it, and that was your petrol.
Yeah, and the thing is, I would say a while ago, the fees on Joburg were higher than the fees currently are here in Cape Town, and I think the rest of the country. I think after COVID, like the standard rate for a comedian dropped drastically.
Yeah.
And I think it's also because there's a lot more competition now, because you also were kind of lucky in that when you started comedy, there weren't as many comedians. So it's like, it was a small knit community. You guys worked together. It was like, this guy take this gig, you take that gig. Or am I?
Well, I never organized gigs. I tried it once or twice. I don't have the temperament. I don't produce. But yes, it was small. And you had guys like the Pure Munati crowd in Joburg. They were great comedians to have on your lineup. So you drew the crowds with proper comics, and for us starting out then, it was a great place to get in and be seen and to watch those guys work. I mean, we all learn from each other. John Vlismus and the Underground in Melville.
Yeah, which was a sick room.
It was just, and again, for an Afrikaans guy, when they asked me to host that, it was like those small little breakthroughs and milestones. Like, you're trusting me with your venue, and I did it well because you asked me again. It's just, there's something about, I love working in Afrikaans. I'm passionate about that. But there's something about working outside of your comfort zone and just feeling appreciated or just seen, just feeling seen by a different demographic. I just love, and I still love that. I mean, last year I did the Laugh Africa with Hannes. We had a Flying Dutchman improv gig. And the audience was, if there were 5 white guys, it might have been a lot. But that was our crowd. They loved us. They cheered us. We took stuff from them. It was improv. It was just, whenever that happens, I'm still really stupefied that I get to do this for a sort of living.
I'm with you there. And I also find, like, I guess it's because we're both like lefty liberal like types, that I connect more with brown audiences in South Africa. Like, I find white audiences like kind of reject me a lot because, I mean, I guess I reject them like with the content that I have that's a lot more critical of like whiteness and liberalism, like to a degree. And so I find like that black and brown people tend to go like, no, he's right. And the white people are like, you can't say that.
Yes, I mean, and it's weird. Afrikaans people have a tendency to very quickly say, the best thing about us is we can laugh at ourselves. No, you fucking can't. It's the vehement pushback that I get sometimes, and this is even just social media posts from Afrikaans people. I mean, I grew up with people phoning our house and phoning death threats through for my mother because she was a teacher who was nice to black kids in the school. So I understand what that level of conservative right-wing fear-mongering is. But getting the messages myself now in my DMs, like being told often, I'm a traitor, and I'm a traitor to what? I'm the first person in my family who moved north was my dad in 1966. I'm not a voortrekker. I'm not descended from voortrekkers. My family were fucking smart enough to wait for the N1. I don't identify with that, and I grew up in the 80s when that was still being forced on us as your identity. And the pushback comes from being told that what you believe or follow or what you were told is wrong. People don't like that.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. But I mean, Kagiso, one day when we
Lediga, I'm assuming.
Lediga, when we were in PE. This is 8 years ago, 10 years. He told me I need to stop pandering to the Afrikaner. And I didn't take it as an insult. I took it as good advice. But at that point, it was difficult explaining to him that being part of it does not immediately entail pandering to it.
Yeah.
I can't do an Afrikaans gig and just dig into them for everything that their forefathers did wrong.
Literally.
Because they're there to laugh. So that's my first job, is to make them laugh. If they feel offended by what I say, try to contextualize it, and maybe, I mean, every person that you bring over from the dark side is a small win. But I'm not an evangelical comedian. I'm not trying to get
Yeah,
people
you're not Bill Hicks.
to change their minds. No, fuck, I wish I were. I mean, I'm not. That's a different level. But yeah.
Well, I mean, I would say the problem with Bill Hicks is that he's a bit too preachy instead of being funny. Where, like, I think, like you say, the job of a comedian is to make people laugh. Yes, we want to make them think as well, but the way to get them to think is by making them laugh first. It's like you get them on your side in the beginning, and then you start challenge.
Yeah, but you get them on your side by showing them we are the same in so many aspects. Just stay with me, you know, like you're with me now. Just hang on a bit longer. This is going to end somewhere. And I think the problem is people feel when you point out a fault or a mistake or a responsibility, they immediately feel you are blaming them personally for
Yes.
it. And I think it's a flaw that I also sometimes have. I take criticism too personally, as against me instead of as against my product or whatever.
Yep.
But I think you don't touch, and that's what I experienced when I started doing comedy. I worked in English most of the time. Afrikaans I was never able to really pick up. It was there, but it was small. There were no Afrikaans gigs or clubs or anything.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so impressed with what Skalk was able to do and what Alfred Adrian is able to do. Both of them, they are Afrikaans comedians as well. But there's almost no difference in the way they present themselves to an Afrikaans or English crowd.
Yeah.
And that kind of being to yourself, not alienating, getting your message across without being abrasive, I respect that so much. And again, it's respect to the level of jealousy, but good professional jealousy.
Oh, trust me, I'm with you there. I'm so jealous of Skulk. Like the way he's able to, like get the white audience in South Africa to actually like listen to like what he has to say. Because I think like if you're not just like making fun of the EFF and the ANC and stuff like that, a lot of white people just don't give a fuck about what you have to say. It's like you need to make a Julius joke or else, what's the point?
Yeah, and then if you make a Eugene Terblanche joke like I do, then you're like, why are you speaking ill of the dead? It's weird, man. It's weird.
I think you could definitely speak ill of that guy. He didn't exactly live like a positive life.
Yeah, but it's different if you were at school with his daughter, I don't want to rip off my friend's departed dad. It's a weird dichotomy,
I mean, I think I, in a small way, understand that just because, like, when Oscar like killed Reva, like I know people who are friends with Reva, and it's like making those jokes got a lot harder once they were like, "Hey, man, that's pretty fucked up," and I'm like, "Fuck, I think you're actually right here." Like,
yeah, it's difficult. Like when stuff does. I guess it's because everything does have levels. It's nothing is ever just that easy and plain and simple. But
yeah, there's nuance to everything.
There is nuance and layers, but sometimes you just kind of. I'm still surprised by what some people find off-putting. Like making jokes about the Afrikaner refugees going to the US. The vehement response, that's no problem. There's a certain type of person you'd expect that from.
Yeah.
But the people, some of the people who were upset about me taking the piss, it was just stupefying because they're people that I thought were pretty open-minded and should be able to see that calling yourself a refugee when you're moving out of your 4-bedroom house and going to the States is ridiculous. It doesn't matter whether it's Afrikaner doing it.
Especially when there's literally people being bombed in tents right now.
Exactly, but then telling me that I'm without feeling and sans patriotism and what the hell ever. It's fine coming from a certain type of guy. I'd expect that. But getting that from friends, well, former friends and colleagues who've been living overseas for 5-8 years was just so strange.
But it's also because I think there is, like, I mean, I know I grew up with it, the Swart Gevaar idea, which I think is very much still ingrained in many white people. And so when they look at South Africa, they don't look at it through a clear lens. They don't look at it properly. They see it as this rundown, dangerous, all these things. And yes, life in South Africa is pretty dangerous in comparison to many other places, but it's not that dangerous for you.
Yes, like you are literally less likely to be a victim of any crime than a person who is not white. Literally. And I'm not saying it's great when you are, but that's the difficulty people have in seeing. And you are right about die swart gevaar, and that's the institutionalized racist worldview that people don't realize they have. I mean, I want to climb up the walls because Afrikaans people have a lovely way of talking about die swartes. Like the blacks. Really? Yeah. So all blacks in this country, any person who is black is just part of one homogenous group. Do you think they have meetings weekly telling each other how to behave towards the whites? I mean, there's nobody.
But there's people who literally do think that. Like they do think that.
But fuck yes, I don't know what to say to that. I'm stupefied sometimes, and I know I shouldn't be. The level of stupid in the world is amazing, especially lately. But it's still I can't believe it.
I mean, I'm with you there. I'm constantly amazed at like the level of, like, I have to log off like more often than you used to. Like back in the day on Twitter, I used to argue with everyone and this and that. And these days, like, I'm on Threads and I will see the comments that people leave, and I'm like, there's no way this is a real person saying this, like with their whole chest, that they actually believe this. And then I'll go and like do the digging, investigating. I'm like, wait, this is actually a real human being who's posting photos with their kids here, yes. But then also saying like Islamophobic shit and like, but being all about, you know, pro Jesus. And you're yes. Like, I think Jesus would disagree with you here, man.
Yeah, I mean, you want to really upset them, try to tell them that the chances that Jesus was a white man is null. That really gets to them. But I mean, and yes, people have funny beliefs and not beliefs. I'm not talking about religion. Funny worldviews. There's two documentaries if you ever want to dive into YouTube. The one was called The Leader, the Driver, and the Driver's Wife. Okay. It was 1991. I was in standard 3 or 4. It's a British guy who did a documentary about Eugene Telblanche and J.P. Meyer, his driver, and Tani Anita, his wife. And it just gave you an idea of what that culture was like in the 90s. Then he went back to do a follow-up docu in 2006 called His Great White Self. If you can find that online, please check it out. But if you watch that documentary, there's a spot at which a woman is sitting there having a breakdown about they don't read the Bible, they don't know how awful it is, and she's talking about interracial marriages there. That's one thing, watching a person have that breakdown. It's a totally different perspective if that's your library auntie from when you grew up. That's the woman I took my first Terry Pratchett's out from in the Ventersdorp Library. She was surrounded by knowledge and wisdom and books for her entire life. Yet her whole worldview is as Old Testamentic as it gets, you know, the Goatherd's Guide to the Galaxy vibes.
But it's also just leaving out half of, you know, like Leviticus when, and like, they're like, these are the important rules, but there's like 200 more that you're negating here.
Yeah,
like,
but I mean, it's ingrained. That's nurture versus nature. And it's surprising that some people could get out of it. So I'm
well, because you grew up quite with parents who were pretty left-leaning, right?
Yeah, very liberal. Yeah, for Ventersdorp, yes.
Yeah. So what was that like? I mean, I would imagine that you must have had a bit of a tough childhood, because here you are at home getting, you know, these ideas about, you know, black people are pretty chill. And then everyone else around you is like, they're the enemy.
Well, I didn't just get the idea. I was surrounded by it. My dad owned a liquor store. Well, I grew up on the farm. He was a farmer. And my mother tells the story of 1967 when he arrived there. Because he went to the Navy, then agricultural college, and he ended up working for a guy. Met my mother, started farming on my grandfather's farm, which we inherited. Again, white privilege. My great grandfather won the Rhodesian Sweep lottery and won something like £2,000 and bought a farm that he split up between 7 children, that split up between blah blah blah, and one of them landed with my granny. So not landowners, my dad arrived from the Eastern Cape. And my mother said the black folks who worked on the farm were so surprised because my dad didn't treat them the same way that farmers who'd grown up in the Transvaal back then did. there's this natural. It's almost as if the voortrekkers were still fighting this war, a distrust and a negating of the humanity of any person who isn't white.
Yeah.
And my dad arrived there. He didn't have that. He grew up in a different setup in the Eastern Cape, not mealie farms and stuff, small holdings where there were no laborers on the farms. You had kept your farm running by yourself. So when he arrived there, he did stuff like give them Christmas bonuses, have a big braai for them. My dad ended his life as the sexton at the NG Kerk. You know, the guy with the keys who basically checked. And the dominee was very upset when, at the end of the year, my dad invited the tea lady and the guy who does the garden at the church to our house where they bride and drank beer, as he did with his employees when he had the liquor store, as he did with his employees when he was a farmer. But doing that with his colleagues for the NG Kerk Moedergemeente really upset Dominee van Vieren. And that's why, again, my dad, things like that got to him, but he didn't make a noise because when he was a businessman for 80s, 90s, the tough times, he tried to stay out of politics because it's bad for business. And my mother was an English teacher, so it's not as if she was fighting a fight. She just had a different worldview. I never heard the K word until I went to primary school because it wasn't used in our house. And I'm the only child that was just... and they just told me, no, you don't say that. Unfortunately, because of Ventersdorp, I was politically aware at a very, very young age, like 1987. So I was 7, 8.
That's when I was born.
Yeah, it wasn't nice growing up with that, but also...
especially at that time where everything was transitioning.
Yeah, and if you're in the town where the leader of the AWB lives.
Yeah.
And then Evie de Klerk came to speak in Ventersdorp, August 1991, and he was still state president. So I was going to go and stand in a little guard of honor for the state president. I was on TV that night with a We Love Evie poster, and I think that was the start of an organized boycott of my dad's business in Ventersdorp, from which it never really recovered.
Fuck.
So it had unintended consequences, which is why I will always hate those fuckers. The RVB is a neo-Nazi organization. Literally. Just because you stopped 1/7 short of a swastika when you made your fucking logo, and you go...
Yeah, it's like it's literally like...
Yeah, but no. They're just a bit extreme. You know, my mother, I remember that... That's part of becoming aware. It's when the NG Kerk split because they said, no, black people can come. And half of the NG Kerk went, oh, shit. And they started the Afrikaanse Protestante Kerk, the APK. It broke away.
That's also what's crazy to me is like you're also just doing... Afrikaans as a culture is such a like Creole thing, basically.
Yes.
Like, but then they're trying to be pure.
Yeah, but there's the... Now we're entering a whole new level, what I call the Afrikaans chosen people fallacy.
Sure.
And I blame Sarel Sillier. He was the guy who was moving around with the voortrekkers through Natal. And he was the first one who drew that parallel between the Israelites in the desert and the Afrikaners.
Well, that's the big thing. Right?
Moving away from slight irritations in the Cape like British rule and the end of slavery. And it stuck. It stuck with the vow, the day of the vow. And since then, this feeling of being chosen is just permeated so much. And the whole Afrikaans culture is entirely fabricated.
Yeah.
In the 1930s, it started hard, like building the Voortrekker Monument, sending ladies to some Scandinavian country to go and find, because we didn't have folk dances. So they went and checked something out there. Okay, this is volksspelen. This is what the voortrekkers did around the fire every night. You're doing it now. It was total bullshit. These are the same people who had...
This is exactly what's happened with Israel, but yeah.
Yeah. What you mean, one of apartheid South Africa's biggest partners.
Yeah.
The guys who did an illegal atom bomb test with them in the middle of the ocean.
Literally.
Yes. These are the same guys who had the wrong face on their fucking money for years.
Well, like it wasn't Jan van Riebeeck, because that's the thing, right? That photo, that picture of Jan van Riebeeck isn't...
The guy on the money isn't Jan van Riebeeck. His name is Bartholomeus Vermuyden. Yes. And it's a mistake that happened in the 1940s or 50s when obviously you couldn't quickly get an email from the Rijksmuseum saying you've got the wrong poster. But it's been established now that poster of the guy on the money is Bartholomeus Vermuyden. It says so in the Rijksmuseum. There are other paintings of Van Riebeeck, and the statue down in Adderley, and there's another one in the castle, which gives you a better idea of what he looked like. But but still, if you tell the story, people get upset as if this is now a blatant attempt to dismantle Afrikaans culture. No, somebody made a mistake. Laugh about it.
I'm with you.
I'm not breaking down your culture. I mean,
this actually is interesting in that, like, the parallels in terms of like American conservative culture, and then like it's the same thing. It's myth making of a story that isn't even the truth. Like, your parents are telling you a myth about your culture, about your history, and that isn't even founded in reality. And now you have your whole identity based on this lie, essentially, which I feel like is most of the world these days. Because
yeah, I mean, but it is that idea of it makes you feel special. I get that.
Yeah,
but can you imagine
it's its own white supremacy, basically.
Having been told how special you are, and you are ruling this country now on behalf of God because you need to control these savages or whatever you call them, growing up 70s, 80s, and all of a sudden here come the 90s and everything just falls away. I used to have a joke that said, I'm Afrikaans, so for the first 18 years of my life, I was part of God's chosen people. Apparently then God changed his mind. but that's literally what I understand, that people had the rug pulled out from under them because they were not aware of everything that was going on. They were presented with a world that really worked to their advantage, and they assumed that was okay and how it works.
Yeah, because this is what God wants.
Well, and this is how it's been given to me. This is what everybody tells me it should be like.
Yeah, it's your media as well. Because of the censorship of the apartheid government, you only had access to so many things. It's yeah.
My parents, like they small little liberal acts of illegal liberal communism. They always, if a book was banned, it landed in their house. Like all the Andre P. Brinks, Dry White Season stuff like that is there. It's still there. My dad had a Jewish friend in Klerksdorp. They got films, like big reels. So movies that were banned, like Last Tango in Paris and Africa, A Deer, all these movies that you couldn't get, they watched them at their house, like secret screenings and stuff. But oh yes, we were so conditioned and censored into. I mean, we only got television in 1976. I don't think anybody realizes how backward that is. I mean, how hard, because I think that the Nats knew that mass media was at some point going to help end apartheid, because it had to. I mean,
and that's why they were trying to control it.
Because you had an electorate that only knew the tip of the iceberg of what you were doing. Like the 16th of June 1976, when I was in grade 1 in 86, it was the 10-year anniversary of Soweto Day. What is Soweto Day? It's when the blacks attacked us. Oh, 10 years later, no, it's not. It's when our people, our God-fearing white police, shot at kids because they didn't want to study in a foreign alien language.
Yep.
But we were not told that. We were just told it's when they attacked us. You know. And I've got issues about that still. Like the Day of the Vow, Day of Reconciliation, 16th of December. Afrikaners still go to the Voortrekker Monument and they watch the light shine through the cenotaph on the Ons vir jou Suid-Afrika, and everybody writes opinion pieces about the heritage and how it's not racist anymore and everything. And then you've got days like the 21st of March and 16th of June, Sharpeville and Youth Day. They don't write stuff about that. I don't know if the body count isn't high enough or whatever, but it's like there's no celebrating, no observing, no taking slight responsibility for what is unfortunately part of a very dark past.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't know, I think as a English white South African, it's like, personally, like, yeah, we did a lot of fucking fucked up shit. And it's like, throughout history, the English are the villains. Like, it's just in World War II where they, for a brief period, because Germany was doing to them what they were doing to fucking everyone else around the world, that it's now like, oh, the Allies were good guys. And it's like, they were only good in that one situation because they were being attacked. Yeah. So that's the thing. I think it's difficult, obviously, because it's also, you do know, like, once you start actually recognizing these things, once you start reading about it, you kind of understand why black and brown people might be a little bit apprehensive around you. Like, whereas I think a lot of people then take that as being like, oh, they're just like this, they hate us, this, everything else. So it like feeds into this idea of being othered within it, where it still is just like, nah, man, there's context, bro. Like, there's a reason why you still live in a 4-bedroom house and the person who's the same age as you was just able to get into a nice flat, you know?
But it's the inability to understand privilege, which is very weird to me. I mean, I struggle most months, or some months I struggle, but I'm very aware of where I'm operating from.
It's a different kind of struggle.
Yeah, but that's my struggle. It's a personal struggle. It's not a struggle imposed on me by the way society, not by anybody in particular. Nobody did it. It's just the way society is structured.
Yeah.
And I find it so frustrating that people are unable to just realize that they do have it better, or they had it better. And to just accept it. I'm not asking you to pay anything back. We're not telling you to change anything.
Not yet.
Well, we wait until you have nothing. No, but the thing is getting people to just understand that inequality exists.
Yeah.
These are the same people who will be very quick to point out the inequality in BEE, but they won't understand, they're unwilling to understand that growing up in a middle-income household with parents who are able to send you to a middle class, not middle class, but a very average high school, you got the kind of education where you could get 4 A's or 3 A's in matric, which gave you $8,000 off your first year at varsity, so you could afford to go and study.
Yeah.
The guy got a kilometer or two away who had to do his work by candlelight because there's no electricity. Who arrived at school tired because he had to get up at 5 to go fetch water to reheat to bathe his 2 sisters who are 8 and 9. There's a different. It's a different hand dealt by fate or life or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge your own luck in that. I'm not saying you're privileged in the terms of...
Like, you didn't choose it, but like...
But again, same way, stop being proud of stuff that you didn't do anything with. I mean, you're proud of being white. Great. What hand did you have in making sure that that's your skin color? The whole thing about being proudly Afrikaans. I mean, I love Afrikaans and I express myself much better in it. But I didn't do anything to be Afrikaans. Yeah. That's the crapshoot of life. I like it, but what am I proud of when I go, I'm trots Afrikaans? What other language has to market itself as much as Afrikaans?
I don't know. I think this is a thing with just culture in general. Like, you know, people do create in-groups based on similarities and then go, we're the best. Or like, this is... And like, I think it's important, like culturally, I mean, you look historically that there's so many different cultures that are distinct and unique. And I think it's cool that people have that. Personally, I'm pretty like ahistoric when it comes to those sorts of things. Like, in that, like, I don't personally attach myself to the history of the English necessarily. You know, like, I attach myself to the things that I chose, like punk music, you know, like, that's my culture. Like, it's not, you know, white English Durbanite. Like, that's not my culture.
Oh, yes,
like,
for sure. I mean,
but I do get other people who are like, I'm a proud Zulu man. You know?
But that's great, and it's fantastic when it's something positive and not necessarily exclusionary. And I mean, there are lots of things to be proud of. I get. I'm proud to be of the same whatever I call it, stock as Koos Kombuis or Valiant Swart for that, or Pieter Derkhuis or Casper de Vries. Yeah. There are people, Afrikaans people who did Max de Bree, Van Zyl Slabbert. I can carry on. There are people. Beyers Nordea, they are fucking cool Afrikaners who I'm much easier find myself associating with than a lot of other people. Boer War heroes. It was awful. I mean, the English were asshats, but
yeah, they created concentration camps.
Yes, but then out of that came Jan Smuts, who realized holism is the best way to go about it, and the Nazi sympathizing National Party voted him out in '48 after he was. Jan Smuts was 3rd or 4th in line to take over if something happened to Winston Churchill. He was a field marshal. He was the only guy to ever address the Mother of Parliaments, which means both houses of. I mean, he was Jan Smuts. I can go on about for ages.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much. So.
But his own people hated him. They called him Slim Jannie. The same way Jacob Zuma referred to clever blacks.
Yeah.
The same way you see Donald Trump degrading people with degrees and stuff.
Yeah, it's populism.
It's populism at its best, but populism works. The thing about populism is it works. Right?
Yeah. As we've seen time and time again throughout history, and especially right now. That's the horrible thing right now is, like, I've read these books and now we're living through them. Like, it's like, I thought genuinely, like, as like I was growing up, like in the punk scene, in the creative scene and stuff, and being in a multicultural space, like for a large portion of my life, like I honestly thought things were getting better.
So did I, yes. But I wonder, do you believe in the whole pendulum swing thing?
Not necessarily, but I do understand that like history obviously has cycles maybe, but I'm a postmodernist in that like I don't think that there is like a narrative that's set and that's going to play out the same way every single time. Like that's why like obviously the whole thing with like the inevitability of communism and that I don't necessarily agree with, but like I agree with the critiques of capitalism and like all of that. Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think?
When it comes to stuff like that, it's so incredibly complicated. I do find it stupefying sometimes that it's so easy to convince people that they are being persecuted or that they are being threatened. I see that from the inside, I think, quite a bit. Again, I'm not blaming any person or organization here, but I've written stuff somewhere about the guy who was able to convince people that Afrikaans is dying out and you need to support it to keep your language alive. That was one of the best business moves ever, because no language in this country has more content being produced than Afrikaans in that language. The amount of publications, books, music, pro rata according to size of market versus the output.
No, like definitely.
I mean, when things changed in '94, SABC 1 in that time, SABC 2 now, that was TV1. It was Afrikaans on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, English on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. Now we're sitting with KykNet, a channel with 3 derivative channels. So there's 4.
I grew up with MK.
Then there's VIA. We had MK. The growth that's happened in Afrikaans, because it didn't have the shackles of censorship anymore. Yeah. But Afrikaans music had this sweet spot where it didn't suffer like the international music industry when pirating became a thing. You could even now, there's about 3 Afrikaans people on Pirate Bay. You couldn't pirate Afrikaans music. So the audience bought it. You have one of the most loyal audiences in the world.
Yeah.
But there's nothing threatening it. It's growing exponentially. But if you can convince people their patronage is going to make this language survive, you can make money out of them. And that just irks me. It feels a bit scaly, like you're taking advantage of people's insecurities. But I mean, I believe that's what AfriForum does daily. No, I'm serious. Convince people they are being persecuted and they are in danger, and all you have to do is join us. Here's your membership form, debit order daarso, dankie, and now you're part of the resistance. It's so easy. I'm stupefied by how people fall for the perceived threat of persecution, which isn't there.
And I think there's also, with that, there's, because I think there was a period in time, obviously, with Afrikaans music, like with Fok of Politiekaart and like their offshoots, where there was a bit of a countercultural movement within Afrikaans that I think has always been there. Like you say with your Peter Dirk Aces and stuff like that, there's always been like a push back towards that sort of thing. But then you look at something like Fok of Politiekaart and how it's just become like a corporate thing. Like it's, like now it's all just about the money and like the message has almost disappeared. And I'm wondering who's next? Where's that next wave of Afrikaans like art and culture coming?
Counterculture, yeah, I don't know. Look, the Fok of guys, what they did 2004, 5, 6 when they started, they did it hard and fast.
Yeah, it was revolutionary.
Yeah, but the thing is, we must also remember the guys who were passed out next to me or running around with a leotard at Opikopi in 2006. Those gentlemen are now in their 40s and CEOs.
Yeah.
So, and living in Dubai. So they go and watch and then Fok of Politiekaart can go and do a gig in Dubai, which I want to go. Good for you guys. You can go, and it's a Fok of gig. You haven't turned into. You're not selling AfriForum membership or trying to convince people.
No, this thing, they still obviously are.
As them. But I do hear what you're saying. I mean, Francois has got a whole career apart from that, and he hit the sweet spot because he brought those fans with him as they grew up.
Yeah.
And then I don't want to say toned it down, but he found that thing of doing the duet with Karen Zoid, and it became more acceptable to people who found the word Fok of and Fok of Politiekaart a bit sif. And And that's fine. Now now they say fuck off politiekar and RSG. So, but I do hear what you're saying. Like I don't know where the new bubbling. I don't know if there is a new bubbling.
Is it because of something like Cakenet having so much control over what Afrikaans culture is? And you also even look at like Afrikaans music. It's not typically considered stuff like folk off. It's stuff like Kurt Darren,
Yes.
which I think is a lot more vapid and a lot less,
Oh, you welcome to my life, where if you're the kind of guy who listens to Valiant Swart, Koos Kombuis, and Piet Botha, along with a lot of other
all
things.
legendary.
Yeah, but then Spotify thinks Afrikaans is a genre.
Yes.
So then all the other music,
Macy.
Kurt Darren, Kurt that's just Euro pop for South Africa. But Steve Hofmeyer, Bok van Berken, those guys start popping up. And I'm like, this is not my music, but Spotify, fuck those guys, by the way, anyway, thinks it is because it's Afrikaans. And I won't blame Cakenet per se, not because I work for them or with them every now and then.
Oh yeah.
But no, but they cater to I've had arguments with people about you're catering to people that we know are racist. And we know not all of them. Again, you see, I must be very careful sometimes of making the same mistake I blame other people of. The Afrikaner is not a homogenous group.
Well, that's literally what I was thinking right now. Is like, I think the one thing you can say from this is that what is Afrikaans is such a broad fucking thing.
Exactly. I mean, more people who are not white are speaking Afrikaans now.
Well, yes.
But that wasn't always the case. Because in the Cape, brown people let Afrikaans go because it was part of the oppression.
Yeah.
So the people whose forefathers literally invented the language stopped speaking it because it became something ugly. And now they're back. And I love it. That's one of the coolest things about moving to Cape Town is it wasn't finding a new audience. I just became aware of a whole different crowd who I didn't have in Joburg to play for. And I love that in Cape Town. And my Afrikaans has gotten much more, I think, I've assimilated a lot more Cape Townian things. And I've just found out more about the language. I mean, the fact that the first Afrikaans written script in 1840-something was, it was written in Arabic because it was done by a guy, imam, and that was 1840-something. Now, a couple of months or two ago, Afrikaans celebrated its 100th year as an official language. So in 1925, it became one of South Africa's official languages. But that's almost 100 years after it was already written down. So, and it was done as for having something to celebrate, because if you celebrate something, you can have a festival dinner, you can sell tickets, you can have a concert, you can sell tickets. Yeah. And you artists like myself are making money if they are in that show, but it just seems like such a to-be excuse for having a party. It's 100 years since we've been the official language. It's like Zulu, Xhosa, Pedi, Tswana, everything else that became official language 35 years ago. Are they going to have a party as well?
Yeah, literally, like in 60 years' time, it's going to be like 100 years of Zulu.
I've got no problem with the idea of celebrating something, but when you celebrate it in a way that makes it look better than something or excludes something else,
removes the history of it.
That's when I start feeling ick about it.
Yeah, but I think that's so much of modern culture. And I mean, not just modern culture, it's been the last 200 years where it's like everything is just like a brand almost, you know? It's like, I don't know, I struggle with that. Just the fact that like nothing is the way it really is. It's always just like a story that someone's concocted that creates an identity and an image and an ideal that isn't even fucking real.
Yes. But now you've invested time and effort and emotion in believing this story. So it's almost easier to just ignore all the signs and carry on as you were.
Well, that is it. It's like having media literacy doesn't necessarily help you because it's still like, so like let's just talk about something like punk music. Like, who created punk? Was it Death? Was it the Ramones? Was it the Sex Pistols? You know, all of these things. But it's like, everyone's got a different story because they've read different things, and it's being trodden and shifted, and like, you know, like people will be like so many people think the Sex Pistols created punk music when that was a boy band manufactured by Vivienne Westwood. Like,
See, I'm just listening. Carry on, because it's stuff I don't know. Because if you asked me about punk, I was like, originated with the 60s.
Yeah, but meanwhile, there was this band called Death, which was a black band in America that did it even before the Ramones, And so there's actually a documentary called A Band Called Death. And a lot of people would credit as being the originators of punk. But then other people could even take it a little bit further back and a little bit further back. But that's the thing. It's like the white media, basically, and the British media, obviously, were like, no, it's the Sex Pistols. And like, obviously they created a lot of media around them, but they weren't even like the first people in fucking, like Joy Division was around, like, I think before Sex Pistols. And I mean, anyway, I'm getting
no, but I mean that I think the level of intricacy and the way nothing is as black and white as people pretend it to be is very much encapsulated in that. Same with, I've got as little liberty or authority to speak on behalf of white Afrikaans-speaking South Africans as I have to speak on behalf of Cape Town-based comedians. It's a group of which I'm a part, but I'm one part, and it's something that is. It was never officially started by there was nothing that made you able to join. You're just part of it by nature, by the way fate happened. You are now part of that group, but. It's a group that keeps on changing, and it's all about, I guess, about black and white, not skin color, black and white areas, no gray area. It's this or that. It's right or wrong. It's mine or yours. It's us or them. I guess it's just seems like an easier way to go through life. It's not. I think if you really look into it, it really complicates your journey.
Yeah.
But I just get frustrated that people are so immovable sometimes in hanging on to what they were taught and they're never going to let it go. Anything else is just fake news or fake media or whatever, despite any evidence. So,
one thing I did want to know is, how is your standing in the Afrikaans community? Because obviously you get shit like online sometimes for some of the things you have to say in that, but you're also, I assume, like a fairly beloved like part of it too.
Look, like I say, I work in Afrikaans still. I like working in the Afrikaans business because there are very talented people all around. TV business, I do a lot of writing gigs. I do copywriting, so I work with great Afrikaans creatives, and those people are fantastic. So I mean, the Afrikaans people I interact with personally, lekker mense, people who understand what's going on out there. It's just now and then I forget how conservative the culture is. And that's when I get the pushback. So I don't know what my standing is. I think I've kind
I just mean like people, because you were even saying like you do comedy in English and that, but like, are there Afrikaans people who are like, I want to go see Malt do comedy?
Yes, I mean, when I do comedy, I'm actually, on my way here, I was chatting with a lady from Secunda. I'm doing their festival in September. Of course, I did it last year. I don't know. It's weird. You never know how other people perceive you, but I mean, when I do work, I get feedback. It's like when I did an acting job. Also, a weird thing with acting is you record something in October of last year and it broadcasts in March, and all of a sudden you get a message going, "Lekker in die tronk, huh?" And I'm like, "What? I'm in jail?" Oh, that one where I played the jailbird is obviously broadcasting now. Again, coming to Cape Town and the Afrikaans people who are not white, that's one of the best things. I did a soapie last year for a couple of months, but just a bit part as a cop, and ended up being one with a drinking problem and murdering his child and stuff like that.
Crazy. So people in the street were like...
No, they were not. They were still happy to see me. That was
nice.
I was worried because it broadcast just before in early December last year. And I was going, my mother and my wife, we went to George to visit my in-laws. And I was worried about people's reactions in public because I played such a nasty character.
Yeah.
It was a very negative ending of my story arc. People were fantastic. It's like, hey, spook, and come and take a picture. And I don't care what anybody says. There's nothing I enjoy as much as that recognition and the joy that you can give somebody for a while by just giving them the chance to interact with a guy they saw on TV.
Yeah.
It's yearly. It's lovely. So I've never, the pushback and the insults and the hate I've received has always been anonymous and faceless. People I've met in real life have always been fantastic. So what's funny is getting older, I'm working with guys now, with actors who would tell me how they used to watch me on TV when they were kids. We had a great improv show running on Kijknet called Proestraat, which was it's a German concept, great improv concept. It ran for 108 episodes over 5 years. And that was the first real improv comedy in Afrikaans on Kijknet. So people, but it
wasn't with Casper?
No. But the final show broadcast more than 10 years ago. So people remember me from that. But then if the people who remember me from that are 20 now, they were 10 when they watched me. So I'm very lucky. I don't have issues of not being able to go anywhere. People don't know who I am. My look has changed quite a bit. That's funny. I used to have long hair and
you look like a rock and roller. Like.
Yeah, well, but nature. I'm not going to walk around with a ponytail and a bald spot for fuck's sake. So I need.
You're not going to be Hulk Hogan.
No. I'm also not going to be the guy from the Vodacom ads.
Oh yes.
But I mean, Michael de Pinne at least isn't grey. He's just slick and tied back.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I like working in Afrikaans, and Afrikaans audiences are great. It's just sometimes I forget how difficult it can be to navigate that world, because again, I don't want to go out and offend people. I'm also not. What's the word? Proselytizing, what?
Proselytizing.
That one. But it's not prophylactic and it's not prophesizing, but it's somewhere between. Yeah. But I don't want to. I don't want to be preachy or anything. So when I make the mistakes, I'll give pushback. I'm not a pushover, but I'll be aware. And like I say, it's people. You can get. I guess it's you catch more flies with honey, but you don't want to call people flies, so it's a shitty simile. But I love working in Afrikaans for Afrikaans crowds. I have to be more attentive to how I do my job when I'm in front of them. An English crowd loves hearing. They don't mind hearing how they do stupid things. They don't mind hearing how other people do stupid things. Just be careful of the touchy crowd, because some things are still too soon, I guess. But again, I don't really care. So
that's the hard thing to balance, right? Is when you're in the public eye, when you're doing public work, like, being on TV and that, like your opinions can get you into fucking trouble. But it also seems like some people can say whatever the fuck they want, like that's racist, homophobic, transphobic, all of this, and they still get work. And you can be a little critical of, the culture that you are in and be blackballed, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've done said things in my life that have certainly cost me work in some manner. I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. It's very funny. The one gig is still coming, but it's for the same organization. I had 2 inquiries. One through an agency, one of these online guys you can book anybody through. Okay. Send them the quote, accept it, it's for this company. Then I said something nasty online about Donald Trump, and my acting agent passed me an inquiry from the same company for a different gig. It's fundraising. Yeah. I've been booked for the Cape Town leg now in October. That's all done and dusted. That inquiry was for the Joburg leg in June, but I recognized the name of the person who did the inquiry as the same person who booked the other show. So it's for the same company. They're just trying to save money and avoid one agent. And I took over and I personally emailed her back, never heard from her again, until one day I saw on socials that she's friends with somebody from Ventersdorp who I had a fallout with. So it's so funny that this is a kind of a farming community-based initiative. They booked me when they still thought I was funny for the one. Mm-hmm. Then they found out I'm a bleeding heart liberal, and now they're just not answering my emails about the other one. So I'm looking forward to the actual gig happening, because I might just score a deposit and not have to go do some comedy because I'm a liberal communist piece of shit.
Oh, cool. I think we got quite a lot there.
You see, it feels like I don't want to summarize or anything. It's just sometimes I get waylaid by what it just comes bubbling out. And I think you find this as well. Once you sit down with a microphone and somebody you do not know that well, it's not somebody who knows the ins and outs of your personality. Feels like I'm constantly trying to explain where things come from. And I wonder if that's not maybe the way I look at the world as well. You're constantly trying to figure out why things work the way they work.
Literally.
But without blaming somebody for it. And I still need to work on that a lot. I've got righteous indignation, but be my worst personality trait.
Yeah.
Because like you said, people can get away with doing stuff and calling people anything. And they work again, even away from politics. I've worked with people who have treated production companies and their employers and their co-stars and the crew like absolute rubbish. Then they go on drug binges, they fuck up, they totally go off the rails. And a month later, they're back on the show because the company knows the viewers like them. They can literally, they almost seem untouchable. Then eventually when they get removed and they go to rehab and they reinvent themselves, then people come out with these books about how I overcame my demons and stuff. And good for you. I'm very glad that you're not hooked on anything anymore. I'm very glad that you're not self-destructive anymore. But paging through this book, I know what you've done. I've seen some of the shit you've done, and I'll admit to helping you doing some of that shit. But it's amazing how you can take no responsibility for any of that, and especially not say anything about the people that you've harmed. Yes, kind of a blanket apology.
Yeah.
Sorry for what I did.
And people also gloss over the real issues that they have. They're like, will be like, oh, it was because of the drugs and this. It's like, no, you were doing the drugs because of your issues. Like, and you never like actually admit to it or acknowledge it or anything like that. Or it's like, oh, my mom beat me when I was young, but that's the whole thing. And then it's like, oh, I did drugs and I was a fuck up and I'm so sorry about that. But yeah, there's no like personal apologies. There's no like actual trying to make things better going forward. Most of these people are still fucking assholes.
Exactly. And I think that's the global thing for me is whether it was a policy implemented by your forefathers, whether it's stuff perpetrated by your friends or in your name or whatever, people tend to miss the big picture. And I know we're living in the present and we've got to look at the future, but just look at how things happened in the past, what happened, why they happened. Yep. And maybe you have a slightly better chance of avoiding them in future. It doesn't look like anybody else's, but we can try.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question that I ask every guest, and that what is a big mistake that you've learned an important lesson from?
Shoo. Do people come out with enormous things here?
It ebbs and flows.
Oh, I didn't see it as a big mistake. I once made the mistake online of criticizing a dude for singing the national anthem with his sunglasses on. I didn't know he was blind. But I learned to go, sorry, I'm a fucking moron. I just made a horrible post. I'm an idiot. I am sorry.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I don't know if I made a big mistake that made me learn that, but admitting when you are wrong. The biggest mistake I made was about 15 years ago. A guy worked with me at the student radio station at Tux FM.
Oh, that was a good student radio.
It was fantastic.
The best in the country.
Yeah, when the rebranding happened, Tux FM, that's when I was there.
Their top 40 was phenomenal.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's a guy who worked with me there, and he went into IT and stuff. And about 14 years ago, this was like 2012, 2011, my late friend Gifford, who ran Wat Kyk Jy, the website.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yes.
I don't know.
I would love to one day do a whole podcast about the importance of Wat Kyk Jy and Afrikaans.
I mean, I know that, like, as a fellow blogger, like,
yes.
I would check them out.
But the two of us, we always reminisce about, there was a time where this person, let's call him Peter. It wasn't Peter. Peter emailed both of us separately. He was trying out this new e-commerce thing, and he doesn't know whether we've heard of Bitcoin, but could he send each one of us 20 Bitcoins, and then we can see how we feel doing commerce online with it. And we both kind of just said, no, thank you. It doesn't sound like something I'm interested in. So I guess in future I might always look at anything more than once just to see, but I'll probably look at the wrong thing. So.
And then lose all your money, like, because you're invested in like some dumb scheme.
Yeah. So no, I cannot give you one specific thing that I've learned a big lesson from, but the big lessons that I've learned is to follow your gut, trust your instincts about people, but don't be immovable. Nothing is set in stone, including your opinions and your knowledge. That's it.
Cool.
And don't be a doers.
Don't be a doers. That's the number one rule, man.
Yep. And I try to follow that as well. Because again, I know I have my faults. I can be a doers very easily. And I'm trying to be less of one.
Amen. Cool. Thank you so much, Malt. This has been fantastic.
It was before. Thanks.